Hello and welcome back to the channel. Today we're dedicating the entire list to one name, the name that for most people on Earth is synonymous with the very idea of a fine watch. Rolex. From the entry point of the collection to vintage holy grails that collectors chase for decades, today's 10 picks span the full breadth of what makes this Geneva manufacture so enduring, so desirable, and so impossible to ignore. These are not just watches. They are cultural artifacts, engineering achievements, and in many cases, appreciating assets. Whether you're dreaming of your first Rolex or adding to a collection that already runs deep, this list has something worth your attention. Let's get into it. Number 10. Rolex Oyster Perpetual, 36/12/6000. The Rolex Oyster Perpetual 36 is the purest expression of what Rolex is and what Rolex has always been. No date, no complications, no distractions. Just the oyster case, the perpetual rotor, and a dial so clean it borders on philosophical. The 26,000 reference introduced the caliber 3230 movement, bringing Rolex's chronergy escapement, a 70-hour power reserve, and improved shock resistance to the most elemental watch in the catalog. The range of bold dial colors, coral red, yellow, turquoise, and candy pink among them, gave the Oyster Perpetual a moment of genuine cultural conversation that no one saw coming, with waiting lists forming overnight and resale premiums that surprised even seasoned collectors. Underneath the color and the conversation, though, is something far more timeless. A 36mm oyster case built to a standard of quality that has remained essentially unmatched for nearly a century. The Rolex Oyster Perpetual 36 retails for approximately $6,150 USD. Number 9. Rolex Datejust 36, 11/16/200. The Rolex Datejust 36 in the 11/16/200 reference is the quintessential Rolex, the watch that, more than any other in the catalog, represents what the brand means to the broadest possible audience. Introduced in 1945 as the first self-winding wristwatch to display the date in a magnified window on the dial, the Datejust has remained in continuous production ever since, evolving gracefully without ever losing the plot. The 11/16/200 on a smooth bezel and oyster bracelet is the purest, most universally flattering configuration the Datejust has ever worn, appropriately scaled at 36mm, equally at home on any wrist, and versatile enough to pair with virtually anything in a wardrobe. The caliber 3135 inside is one of the most proven, most robust, and most respected movements Rolex has ever produced. If you could only ever own one Rolex, a strong argument could be made that this is the one. The Rolex Datejust 36, 11/16/200, trades on the pre-owned market for approximately $7,950 USD. Number 8. Rolex Cellini Date, 5U515. The Rolex Cellini Date 5U515 is the watch that reminds you Rolex is, at its deepest roots, a maker of fine dress watches, not sports icons. Named for Renaissance artist and goldsmith Benvenuto Cellini, the Cellini line represents Rolex's most formal, most classical expression, and the 50515 in 18-karat Everose gold with a white dial is a genuinely breathtaking object. The domed case, domed bezel, and domed sapphire crystal give it a soft, rounded elegance that no other Rolex reference shares. The off-center date display breaks convention in a subtle, clever way, and the slate gray or white lacquer dial options are finished to a standard befitting the precious metal they're housed in. The caliber 31065 movement with its independently adjustable hour hand adds genuine complication beneath that serene exterior. The Cellini Date is Rolex for people who know Rolex, a connoisseur's choice in a catalog dominated by sportier icons. The Rolex Cellini Date 50515 retails for approximately $17,000 USD. Number 7. Rolex Skydweller, Blue Dial, 326934. The Rolex Skydweller is the most technically complex watch in the Rolex collection, and the 326934 in steel with its striking blue dial is arguably the most desirable way to wear it. The Skydweller houses the caliber 9001, a manufacture movement of extraordinary sophistication, featuring an annual calendar that automatically accounts for months of different lengths, and a dual time zone display that uses the iconic ring command bezel for intuitive, simultaneous setting of all functions. This is a watch that solves real problems for real travelers, with an elegance that disguises its complexity entirely. The dial looks clean, almost simple, until you begin to understand everything happening beneath it. The blue dial references in steel have consistently commanded premium attention on both primary and secondary markets, and for good reason. There is no other watch quite like the Sky Dweller in the world, let alone at a comparable price. The Rolex Sky Dweller Blue Dial 36934 retails for approximately $16,000 USD, though demand frequently pushes market prices higher. Number 6. Rolex Milgauss US16400 White Dial. The Rolex Milgauss US16400 with white dial is one of the most underappreciated references in the modern Rolex catalog. And for collectors paying attention, that underappreciation represents an extraordinary opportunity. Originally developed in the 1950s for scientists and engineers working in environments with intense electromagnetic fields, including early CERN physicists, the Milgauss is rated to resist magnetic fields of up to 1,000 Gauss, a performance specification that genuinely mattered then and genuinely matters in more workplaces than most people realize. The lightning bolt seconds hand is the Milgauss's signature detail, a tiny, brilliant piece of design theater that rewards anyone who notices it. The white dial variant on the 116400 is clean, sharp, and deeply satisfying, in a way the more famous green crystal version's showmanship sometimes overshadows. Discontinued in 2023, the 116400 now occupies an increasingly interesting position in the secondary market. The Rolex Milgauss 116400 white dial trades on the pre-owned market for approximately $8,500, $11,000 USD. Number 5. Rolex GMT Master II 116710 Pepsi. The Rolex GMT Master II 116710 with its red and blue Pepsi bezel is one of the most beloved and most recognizable vintage Rolex references ever made. A watch with aviation heritage, cultural cachet, and a nickname that requires no further explanation to anyone who has spent 5 minutes in a watch conversation. Developed in partnership with Pan American World Airways in the 1950s to give pilots a reliable dual time zone reference, the GMT Master became the professional traveler's watch of choice across decades of commercial aviation's golden age. The 16710 reference ran from 1989 to 2007 and was the last generation to offer the Jubilee bracelet in combination with the GMT function and the Pepsi insert, a combination that collectors have elevated to near mythological status. The caliber 3185 movement inside is proven, accurate, and a pleasure to service. This is the GMT that started 1,000 collections. The Rolex GMT Master II 18710 Pepsi trades on the pre-owned market for approximately $12,000 to $18,000 USD, depending on condition and box and papers. Number 4. Rolex Daytona 116500 LN White Dial. The Rolex Daytona 116500 LN with white dial and black ceramic bezel is, by any honest measure, the most sought-after production watch in the world right now, and it has been for years. The combination of the ceramic Oysterflex era aesthetics, the bright white panda dial, and the black bezel creates a visual contrast so striking and so perfectly balanced that it has become the defining image of modern Rolex desirability. Inside beats the caliber 4130, a movement that Rolex developed entirely in-house after decades of relying on the Zenith El Primero, and which has proven itself to be one of the finest chronograph movements ever produced, with a vertical clutch, column wheel, and 72-hour power reserve. The 116500 LN carries a retail price that, on paper, seems entirely reasonable for what it is. The reality is that finding one at retail requires patience, relationships, or extraordinary fortune, because demand has never once caught up with supply. The Rolex Daytona 116500 LN white dial retails for approximately $15,000 USD, with pre-owned market prices frequently reaching $25,000, $35,000 USD. Number 3. Rolex Daytona Zenith 16520. The Rolex Daytona Zenith 16520 is not merely a watch. It is a piece of horological history that occupies a place in the collecting consciousness far beyond its physical dimensions. Produced between 1988 and 2000, the 16520 was the first Daytona to use an automatic movement, the heavily modified Zenith El Primero caliber that Rolex refined, regulated, and essentially rebuilt to meet their exacting standards, reducing its beat rate and replacing numerous components in the process. The result was a movement so accomplished that it powered the Daytona for over a decade before Rolex developed a full in-house replacement. The white, black, and exotic dial variations of the 16520 are among the most studied, most debated, and most coveted in all of vintage collecting, with the so-called floating dial and patina examples commanding prices that reflect their scarcity and significance. To own a Zenith Daytona is to own a chapter of the story. The Rolex Daytona Zenith 16520 trades on the pre-owned market for approximately $18,000 to $40,000 plus USD, depending on dial variant, condition, and provenance. Number 2. Rolex Datejust 36 two-tone diamond dial, 116233. The Rolex Datejust 36. Two-tone diamond dial in the 116233 reference is a watch that understands exactly what it is and wears that knowledge with magnificent self-assurance. The combination of stainless steel and 18-karat yellow gold in the roll-sore configuration, gold bezel, gold crown, gold center links on the Jubilee bracelet has a warmth and a richness that the all-steel or all-gold versions cannot replicate. Add a factory diamond set dial, and the result is something genuinely luxurious. A watch that dresses any occasion with understated glamour and carries the full weight of Rolex's quality and heritage without requiring any justification whatsoever. The caliber 3135 movement inside is the same proven, robust, magnificently accurate unit found across Rolex's core collection. The 116233 has been a staple of the pre-owned market for years, offering one of the most beautiful Datejust configurations at prices that represent genuine value for a genuine Rolex in precious metal and steel. The Rolex Datejust 36. Two-tone diamond dial, 116233, trades on the pre-owned market for approximately $8,500 or $13,000 USD, depending on dial and condition. Number 1. Rolex Air King 116900. The Rolex Air King 116900 takes the top spot, and if that surprises you, it means you haven't spent enough time with one on your wrist. The Air King is Rolex's tribute to the pioneering aviators of the early 20th century, and the 116900 reintroduced in 2016 is the boldest, most confident, most uncompromising version of that tribute ever produced. The oversized Arabic numerals at 3, 6, and 9 paired with Rolex's signature Mercedes hands and a vivid yellow seconds hand create a dial of extraordinary legibility and unmistakable personality. A dial that makes absolutely no attempt to be anything other than exactly what it is. The yellow text on the dial, the black bezel, and the Oyster bracelet give it a sports watch presence and a tool watch attitude that the Datejust and Oyster Perpetual, for all their virtues, simply cannot match. The caliber 3131 inside features a parachrome hairspring for superior resistance to magnetic fields and shock, appropriate engineering for a watch with aviation in its soul. The Air King is Rolex for people who are not afraid to stand apart from the obvious choices. It is different, deliberate, and deeply compelling. And in a catalog full of icons, it remains criminally underrated. The Rolex Air King 116900 retails for approximately $7,500 USD, making it one of the most attainable and most rewarding entry points in the entire Rolex collection.